the meetings, I run all the meetings, anyway, all the meetings.
I don't think there's that many.
On Friday, he's like, you're a nerd. You said I'm a nerd. Aren't you? I'm like, yes, I'm a nerd and I'm proud. Like, get out of my face. I sit in the first row in class and he's like, you're an SBA rep. What? Today, I was falling asleep in line for the class and I was like, why is trash always like but I sit right there. So when he like looks up, he sees me.
Sorry, let me double check.
It's not anxiety. I know myself. If I don't sit in front, I will not get So my question was, if I were to mention this, they're going fast. Perfect. Yearbook Committee club, and then yes, I have this email. I don't have this email. The meeting 2 weeks. So the second meeting, so not the meeting right after, only the meeting. So you can might remember. Well, it's my birthday and I want to go out. So that would be on Monday. If you also like I
All right, everyone, I'm going to call this meeting to order.
All right, welcome to our third PA meeting. Feels like so much longer. So now we're going to move on to swearing in. Roll call. I'm sorry, roll call, not swearing in. We're not swearing anyone in. We're done with that. Okay. Paul, President voting.
Day Vice President Bierman,
Then voting.
evening Vice President Padilla,
President voting.
Treasurer Smith,
President voting.
Chief Justice Daly, present. Associate Justice Young,
It wouldn't allow me to unmute, but present.
Associate Justice Campoyala, Representative DeBacco,
President vote.
Representative Hufnagel, Representative Maroon.
Present.
Okay. Representative Patel.
President voting.
Representative Fuentes. Representative West.
President voting.
Jed.
President voting.
Representative Heinke.
President voting.
Representative Hill. Representative Hunt.
President voting.
Representative Espinola Jimenez.
Present.
Representative Ostrander. Representative Ayali. Representative Grunner.
President voting.
Representative Sharp. Representative Williams.
President voting.
Representative De Los Santos.
President voting.
Now we move on to the adoption of the minutes. So yeah, the minutes were sent out. They're the minutes from last time. I do have just one point of clarification, but I'm not going to object to make them be tabled to next time. And that's just for the newsletter for orgs, student orgs or committees, if you want it submitted. On the minutes, I think it says that internet is the only way to get submitted to the or newsletter or vice versa, just clarification. With the newsletter and the installments, those are two separate things. If you want to publish it like the SBA newsletter, you have to submit your event to internet. That's all for that. So that's just a prerequisite to being submitted to the newsletter is it's submitting to internet. But other than that, motion to vote on minutes.
Motion to vote.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting, please raise your hand. please lower them. All those opposed? Please lower them. And any abstentions? Did I get all those in favor one more time? Okay, and you may lower them. Okay, and they are approved with a vote of 19 to 0 to 0.
Great, so with that, we move on to officer reports, and I will start. So first, I just wanted to start off with just a general SBA like rule enforcement like conversation. Whether or not we agree with all the rules for SBA, its policies or its procedures for how it conducts GA meetings, office hours, etc., we have rules on the books. They're going to be enforced, and we will be following them. That goes for GA meeting structures, like if anyone wants to come and talk, you're going to have to follow the rules about waiting. We have a chair by constitution. It's me. If I haven't called on you, you don't have the floor. You can't talk. You can't interject. There are several times where our rules of order, which we follow by, which are posted on Canvas for everyone's review, that allows for interruptions. If it's not one of those times, don't interrupt. Those are the rules. Follow the rules. That's just how it's going to be for the GA meetings, because there has to be structure, there has to be order, there has to be decorum. We have a parliamentarian over there with our Chief Justice who's going to be enforcing those rules. If you want to be a part of SBA, if you want to come and present anything to the SBA, you have to follow the rules. That also goes for everyone with GA meeting attendance. Again, it's in person. If you have a work conflict, a class conflict, or long-standing travel plans, other than that, like you have to be here. If there's something that pops up, let myself or Chief Justice Ariana know directly, and to be excused. You have a couple of unexcused absences per semester. If not, we're going to be coming to you because there's only a couple of things required. We have to be following by those rules that are put in place for everybody. That was really fun to say. Question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for the Zoom meetings. So basically, I live near the border towards the north, so basically next to New Hampshire. So I feel like in the winter, it's going to be, I'd rather not drive this late at night, especially because it's going to be raining, it's going to be cold. So, and I'm not used to driving in this weather. So I feel like during those times, I would prefer to be on Zoom just for like the safety reasons more than anything else.
That's understood. Safety concerns have always like been raised as a concern. Even last year when the meetings were later and leaving late, that was like even I had that concern. So I understand that's something we'll probably chat with about later. But for as of now, again, if it's not a work conflict, a school conflict, or a longstanding travel plans, we expect attendance to be in person. Sending out a poll in a couple of weeks just to reevaluate, because we do change the structure of GA meetings per semester. So if a Zoom meeting structure would be better for everyone, I'll take that poll, and whatever the majority vote is what we'll do. But just for now, like the meetings are in person. But yeah, we make accommodations on case by case basis. So if you have something, reach out to Ariana or myself, and we'll work with you. So that's that. And that kind of leads into my second point, which was the Spaceball Society update. So as you all know, it was supposed to be on the meeting for the agenda today. However, I took it off the agenda for today just because of respect for the GIA and its rules and its decorum. It needed to have a more structured format for it, and also just to give special time that it deserves, because it is a special matter and it's kind of unprecedented. However, I have not heard back from the appealing party. I reached out to them yesterday with several options. He informed us over the weekend that he informed us on Sunday that the self-show hearing didn't work for him, the date. He had another event or a prior conflict or something. And so I presented several options to him, one which included that it would happen at this GA with him as a participant on Zoom and everyone else would stay in person. The other option was that the meeting would be rescheduled for an hour later, I believe. And then that's the other, to avoid this conflict. And then the other option presented off the top of my head is that the meeting, if the meeting stayed at the time that it was, that there would just be pre-written statements read, and that there would be no debate. It would just move straight to a vote. I haven't heard anything back as to those options. So as of now, the special hearing that was called for tomorrow is canceled. And the motion or the matter is just tabled until the appealing party, and we can get it scheduled for it to be heard before the GA in a special hearing.
I mean, motion to move to voting procedures regardless, because I feel like there's no point in having another special hearing. I feel like we've already discussed most of the points that have, that have meaning in this issue.
Yes, but we're gonna save that for old business. Yes, old business. We'll save that for old business and the new business, because right now we're just doing officer reports of which happened during that time. So, but that's just the current update on where we are. I heard several of you requested like options on what we could do going forward with this particular incident, or just going forward in GA meetings forward to make sure that there's the quorum. As the GA, you do have options to pass resolutions and censures. The process for that is in the Constitution. If that's what any of you feel like your appropriate steps are, you can do that. There's nothing currently that will allow us to ban someone specifically from coming to GAs to raise public comment. That would also have to be explicitly put into the Constitution. And if there's looking to removal from the org from any student is not something that happens. We have the power to disband the org itself, but I don't necessarily believe that's warranted here in this situation. There is no lateral power to go remove someone from their student org. That would have to come from Spaceball Society's membership. If they felt like they weren't being properly represented, or if they wanted someone else to come and advocate on their behalf to the SBA, that's something we would have to take the steps to do. That's not something we can step in and do. Yeah, so that's currently where we are going forward. I will let you guys know as soon as I get more, you all know, as soon as I get more communication from the appealing party and what happens going forward, depending on what happens at the end of this GA meeting. Next, I have the Outlaws update. So last meeting, I brought to you the resolution, the idea of the resolution to pass in support of Outlaws. They recently had their town hall. Our DVP was also in attendance, and they shared with us some updates, a lot of which I was concerned about, just in general regard of student org's relationship with administration, and just some of the hostilities that were occurring in that meeting. And something I definitely am eager to talk to the deans about with tomorrow. But as far as the resolution, there were several student orgs there and committees there as well who also agreed and are also looking to sign their names and draft up a resolution in support of Outlaws. So just off of student participation or student organization right now, the support is there. I told Outlaws about the resolution that we voted on and that we passed, that we would be willing to draft the resolution. And the update from the deans currently was that the first floor women's bath was going to all gender restroom. However, that doesn't solve the problem, considering it's still in the library. It's still very inconvenient to get to if you're leaving from the 5th floor to get down to the 1st floor. It's just still not enough. And so there's going to be further action on that. And I'm taking it directly to the deans tomorrow. We just haven't had a deans meeting between last meeting and this meeting. So that's where that update is. Any further updates on this situation will be brought to you by our DVP. But I just want to update you that because I brought it up. The vending machines. I was able to take that concern to security and faculty, and they were able to facilities to get it worked out. Apparently someone came in last week and it was stopped and it should be fixed. Having issues, you can go directly down to the security desk, the front desk. And if it's a situation where you put in money or you know someone who put in money and it didn't give you it back, they'll give you your money back. Don't go every day. You had a mistake or something, but like if it's like a genuine incident, like it's no problem for them to reimburse you for whatever. But the vending machines should be working. So any further issues can be reported directly, and they'll get on. And the request for hot chocolate was passed to Health and Wellness, and I believe that concludes my presidential report. And I yield the rest of my time to Dave.
Thank you, President Hall. So not too many updates for everyone today. So last meeting, we did hear from Representative Alexis Minogue of If, When, and How, who discussed her interest in her club, her organization rather, to campus. She's recently informed us that the organization has decided to work as a project under the Women's and Children's Advocacy Project as part of the Center for Law and Social Responsibility. So they will be withdrawing from probationary status. So if you have any interest in working as part of that project, feel free to reach out to me and I will redirect you to Alexis. I was also attending the Outlaws Town Hall. I have no notes what President Hall had mentioned, but we look forward to working with Outlaws as well as any other organizations that wish to add themselves to whatever resolution we end up supporting. I'll be sending out an email to all the organizations just with some updates regarding posters, flyers, etc., as well as making on lockers assignments for all the organizations. We're going to come up with a cohesive process to make sure that that happens in the near future, as well as make sure that organizations have access to lockers if they so want them. I'll give the rest of my time to P.
Couple things, but I'll just echo with Blake. The lockers, I also sent out an email recently about lockers, and I've received a few emails back. We are still working on it, like I said, and hopefully by the end of this week, maybe early next week, you will have a locker, if you so want one. Did you have anything for this that you wanted to announce? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're here.
We did put in our first, so with the food pantry, you're doing 2 orders a month. We'll be putting out another form similar to the one last year that says if there's something you want, something you're interested in. We will be having more vegan. We're trying to work on gluten-free, kind of that stuff to help with more dietary preferences. We are really looking for volunteers. So if you know anybody or could spread that word, it does really help because there's like 3 of us, like me being chair and 2 subcommittee people to stock it. And the other thing is that we also were at the, I see we like brought with me. I also was at the Outlaws Town Hall, and Mental Health Committee is willing to put in support. But if you guys go back to food pantry, that's what we care about for us. If you do have like interests or whatnot, just you can always let me know. You can email SBA MHWC or even Linda McCullen. I'm here to help and assist, and we are working on getting a list of resources for mental health going through the insurance that just takes more brain power that I'm trying to allocate.
And then we have Ariella Gray for public service.
Hello. So SBA Public Service is currently doing a fundraiser for Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress. They're having their annual buddy walk on October 9th, Sunday, right before our little holiday break from school. So you don't have to be in school on Monday, which means everybody can be there. It's very exciting. It is a great organization that really reaches out to the disabled community in Massachusetts. We supported it last year. We did a great job fundraising. We're a little slow at the moment, but I'm sure that'll be fine. Hopefully we'll be doing a little bake sale. There we go. Little Halloween goodie sale later in October because it's Down Syndrome Awareness Month, all month. So we'll be continuing on. If you have any interest in it, you can reach out to me either to my personal email or SBA Public Service email. If you know anybody who would be interested or wants to participate, you can also send them to me. It'll be a great time. That's all I got. Thanks. Thank you.
I'm also working on scheduling the monthly meetings with all the committees. So you look on the lookout. I have times that I'm gonna send out a poll for everybody. I'm also working on the Yearbook Committee. We have a lot of interest in that again. So I'm going to be sending out another poll with other meeting times for people who are specifically interested in that committee. Social Affairs just had their fall mixer at Bell in Hand on Friday. I hope everybody had a great time. And then they also have their showing of Amsterdam AMC in the Boston Commons down the street on October 14th. It's 7 p.m. Tickets are free. On October 15th, the next day, they're doing apple picking at the Lookout Farm in Natick. It's co-sponsored with the Middle Eastern Law Students Association. Tickets are $25. They include transportation, entry to the farm, and a bag for apple picking. Tickets are going to be on sale, or they were on sale September 27th, September 30th, tomorrow, October 5th, 5 to 7, and then October 7th, 3 to 5 in the lobby. And October 21st is the Halloween party. It's at Venue around the corner. Tickets are free and available now. And I know there was safety concerns about that and for the winter formal on November 10th. We had talked to Social Affairs today, Tori and I, and President Hall and I, about their what they were going to do in terms of safety. And we have discussed one of the co-chairs being sober at the party events to ensure that we're seeing who's coming and going with who and making sure that they know that they're coming and going with the same people and just keep track of who is coming in and out. And both events, I believe, are private closed just to Nestle students. We also discussed the possibility of having one of our own security guards at the there's more to discuss with that to see within the logistics. That's all. I yield my time to Chief Justice. Sorry, Treasurer Smith. Sorry.
Two quick updates. There's a handful of people that haven't picked up their T-passes yet, so if you have not picked up your T-pass, please come pick it up. Also, now that the budget has been approved, orgs and committees can either submit pre-approved funding requests to get funds in advance of their events, or they can submit reimbursement requests after the fact to be reimbursed for the amount that pre-approved on the budget. If an org or committee needs supplemental funding for anything, they should just fill out the supplemental funding request form, which is found on Canvas. If anybody has any questions, as always, please email me at sba.treasurer@nestle.edu. That's all I have, so I yield my time to Chief Justice Davidson.
Okay, we just had our first Constitution and Bylaws Committee meeting. So we will be drafting up some amendments to the bylaws for you all to vote on soon. With that, if you have any suggestions or revisions you think should be made to the Constitution or bylaws, or you know anyone that has any suggestions, please email me or have them email me at SBA. I need to tell that you do. And I yield my time to President Hall.
I'm gonna see my list.
Oh,
Okay, so with that, we move on to representative reports. We're gonna start with the 3L representatives.
Nothing to report.
Good, okay. 2L representatives.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring up mine real quick and then I'll move on to someone who's not here. That's one. I know we mentioned it like real briefly, but like bank accounts or pseudo bank accounts for orgs, so that it's not a pre-approved funding request situation. I don't know if there's an idea. I don't know. I'm just bringing that up. Yeah.
I have been looking into this.
Oh, cool.
Currently, the way the SBA bank account is set up is it's set up as a small business account. So I'm looking into creating little mini business accounts under our small business account. So I can maybe just disperse funds like that, but that's going to take a couple conversations with Bank of America, or if anybody knows how that works.
Yeah, so like in my undergrad, we had a similar thing where like every like as a part of like the freshman curricula, like people had to make their own companies and whatnot, and like each one of those companies had a bank account with some like random bank. So I can find out what that bank was and kind of replicate that. possible.
You're hired.
Yes.
Honoring the budget.
Athletics is fun. Softball, by the way, softball Saturday, so up to that. Vending machines. Okay, yeah, so, and Alexis is not here, she's sick. She brought something up to us. I guess somebody emailed her or brought or texted her something, a bunch of issues. So I'm just gonna run. through these.
Oh,
Matt and I are gonna kind of tag team these. So somebody, I don't know who this is, but it's on behalf of Alexis, reached out to the dean in July. Okay, so there's an issue with, I guess, the dean's office not recognizing JILSA as an affinity group. And I guess that JILSA wasn't recognized at the multicultural event. She said that Dean Freudenheim recognized the FALSA, BOLSA, LALSA, SLOSA, and then recognized MELSA as a new group, and then didn't even say anything about JILSA, even though JILSA emailed an RSVP and got no response, I guess. So I don't know, judging by people's faces, I don't know if you guys have more info than I do.
No, not at all.
Okay, I don't know, because I'm like, I just don't want to like say something that's wrong.
Yeah, because as far as my records are concerned, like was added to everything, especially if MOSA has been added, JILSA was added, they're added together. So it's very peculiar that one was there and not the other.
I mean, like there's just like a full timeline that she sent, like bigger than my screen.
Could you go ahead and forward
Yeah.
whatever materials that you have to the executive board? So because we want to raise any of those concerns to the dean, figure out exactly why that wasn't done. If that is,
Yeah, I'll just send those with you guys. And then, the multicultural. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just the mix overlap was like. Yeah, I got with Jill, so they said like the coordination of like the school is like Friday, Saturday, maybe like conflicts for them, so they're not like, comfortable with it.
what's your
No, that was it. Like, that's all I know. Like this stuff was Alex's notes, so I don't know.
And then I guess the Bellingham mixer and the multicultural event had some sort of overlap.
So just like be aware of that next, like in advance of like future events.
So just so y'all are aware, the SBA mixer was a social affairs event. Social affairs is committee, like all the other committees or committees or student organizations they set their own schedule. They pick the dates. We didn't set that date. SBA didn't pick, like they have their funding, their events like they all do. We have no control over whether or schedule events at the same time or when they schedule, we can make our recommendations and suggestions for when they want to have events or when they should have events. But as far as like the dates that being scheduled at the same time, I don't know that that's something that we can control. I'll make my recommendation. If I'm mistaken, I believe the multicultural event was over by like 7 and the mixer went into 10. So there was time to like go to both possibly. If they're asking that we events from Fridays and Saturdays, again, that's an accommodation like that we'd have to make on an individual event by event, group by group basis. But there's no particular like calendar for SBA that we have set.
Okay, so I guess I'll just let Alexis know. I'll send you guys. I don't know who brought up all this stuff. The only thing I wrote was so I don't know.
yeah, I actually have like a few comments about that. So first, I think it would what Don is saying that I think it would be better maybe to have like some sort of Google Calendar or something with all the events so that at least clubs can kind of coordinate in some way. Because the times I want to one club's event, but then there's another club's event that I want to go to and be clashing. And one of them was that, yeah.
I just want to, we have, I didn't mean to cut you off on something.
That's okay.
We have the intranet calendar. I don't know if orgs are abiding by that and putting this stuff in.
But I feel like even if we have that, it should be more accessible to the students, or the students should be more aware of it, because yeah, most of the time the events are clashing, students can't go, and it's been a complaint that I've been hearing a lot, from different students. And it's actually a complaint for me as well, because a lot of the times I wouldn't be able to go to the event. So on Friday night when we have the multicultural thing and the mixer, I had to run from one event to the other. And that also brings me to the other point about Melsa not being recognized. So during Dean's version, Jilsa was recognized.
Melsa also was.
Melsa was not
by the dean.
recognized
Oh,
either.
for real?
The other, I'm sorry, I know, was taught, the other professor recognized it, that's part of the chat.
Yeah.
The dean did not say it, the dean was also.
So that's the thing. Hand was giving her speech. She did not recognize Melsa. She said thank you to all the different cultures, all to the, and she like mentioned all of the different organizations except for the Middle Eastern Law Students Association and the Jewish Association. Sorry, I don't know the full name. So she didn't recognize either of them, but a representative later went up and mentioned Melsa, and she was a former student, but still being who belongs to Melsa, to that specific club, and being there, I felt kind of upset by it. So
Noted. Thank you for that additional context, because now that they're both left off, like it makes sense that it's probably just that they were newer and the laws haven't been updated, and with an inadvertent not add. I'm not going to speak for the deans on that part though, because I had no part in planning this event. So, but I will take it to the dean tomorrow to see and make it my business that they're added to everything that they needed to be added to, so that they're recognized in the future going forward. And that I'll see if they'll be willing to put out a statement to Jilsa and to Melsa and confirming that fact that it was not an inverted, like it wasn't purposefully or maliciously that you all were, that Jilsa and Ms. Wilder left off. I will take that. As far as the notification of school events, there's the SBA newsletter that we have. We advertise all the time that to be posted to the newsletter, you have to put the internet calendar. That policy was put in place so that people would look at internet calendar. All the events that are posted in the newsletter are upcoming events within the next 2 weeks. At this, like, there's nothing much more we can do to make these events known, or themselves advertise events and dates and times. Most of them have posted their events for this semester. It's just going to come down to a situation where being involved in student activities, you're not going to be able to do everything. You're not going to be able to go to everything that you want to go to. And I know firsthand how frustrating that can be, because there are several events that I'd like to attend. Conflict. And unfortunately, that's what it is when we have so many organizations. We have almost 35 organizations now, and we have 11 committees. There's going to be days where things conflict and line up with the small 13 weeks that we have for the semester. But we will try and do our best to pass on those recommendations.
So I was gonna make a point on that. As social chairs, there's so many, like the academic calendar itself is very restrictive with different holidays, and we have off at different times. So I don't know. I'm in their committee. I think they've done their best. They're trying to do their best to like lay everything accordingly so that we can go back to this.
So with that,
Oh, sorry, I have one. Yeah, so it's been brought to my attention that like there's like a lack of transparency between the SBA and the student body. And that like they're noticing all these board members resign. They're like, oh, SBA is a joke. And like I'm like somewhat offended that, because I know we can get stuff done. I feel like there's like they don't have the SBA to do stuff. And I feel like we can do stuff. We just like have to be transparent with them, like tell them what's happening within SBA, specifically the fee board. That makes sense.
yeah, I'll take that. I will say SBA, being an SBA is not a newcomer. That's not
Yeah, I get
unique to this year. What I will also say is that the e-board and the executive board has been fully transparent with the General Assembly who we answer to. I answer to the school student body through you all. So part of your responsibilities is conveying the information as you get it. I can't send an email to the student body every time something pops up. The resignations and the vacancies for every position were announced in the newsletter, which is how we communicate to this. That's our direct communication to the student body. If students don't feel like they're getting the information they need to, their options are to either read the newsletter, which was part of the resignation. Part of the reason why the director of comms resigned was because she was told she was putting all this work into the newsletter, and then people were literally telling her to her face, no one reads it. We are going to do the best we can. We do the best we can with transparency. As I've said to all of you in the General Assembly, if you have a question about anything, come and talk to me. I'll, like y'all know, as many of you know, I've been talking this week, I can talk for hours. So I will, and I'm very honest and transparent about everything. If you have a question about anything, I'll let you know exactly what happened, exactly why every decision was made and how we would plan this going forward. And I'll take your input on it as well. Same thing for anyone on this executive board, that goes across the board. If anyone has the concerns or has comments or questions about what SBA can or can't do, take it to the reps. Reps bring it to us and we'll address it here as we're addressing it now. But we also ask the student body to do their part. We can only do so much if we're putting out the information, giving information, and it's not being read. As far as the resignations go, I'm not sure what communication would have been asked. Anything that would have been asked would have been counter to precedent and new. No other years were there a resignation, that resignation letters were sent out, or that there was any sort of inquiry past the GA about it. So that was communication that was expected or new, or would have been requested this year. That could have come through the GA. But as far as constant updates to the whole student body, that's not what listserv is for. I'm not going to use listserv for that when we have representatives here for the classes who can give that information to the classes. Like that's what these meetings are for. We're going to go, we take your comments or updates, we take them to who they need to go to, we bring them back to y'all, and you take it to your class and communicate that way. If they feel that insufficient, if they don't trust the representatives to do it for whatever reason, there's public comment. They can comment themselves. There's office hours that are posted. I could even have it being special noted on Canvas when executive board office hours are. So that way they know that they can come and speak to someone on the board if they prefer it that way. There are avenues for direction. There are avenues for transparency if there's a request for it. It just has to be done. A lot of what's been happening is a lot of like rumors and through the grapevine, hearing things, or I heard this, or I think this, or I heard this about this situation. No one's coming to clarify. Come clarify. Come to the GA meeting. Come clarify. Come to our office hours. Ask us directly. We can only do so much with what we hear.
Yeah, so if I can touch on that, I'm one of the new guys here. I was elected sort of after that sort of cycle went through. Part of the reason, I wanted to volunteer my time in this role is to understand, how the student body has shifted, not only bringing in the 1Ls and understanding their needs and wants, but understanding, where the student body's attitudes are towards, what it was like coming out of the pandemic last year and what the expectation is this year. A lot of that challenge stems from the reality that those desires at the end of spring of 2022 are not the same as what we have, this semester now. I think the e-board has tried to sort of shift their, identity in responding to what students do, but obviously that's caused a split in terms of how the e-board has communicated both formally and informally with students, which has led to a lot of the rumors and sort of grapevine things that we've had coming through. For myself as somebody new on the, I hope that we can build a more consistent policy to how the e-board communicates with not only the GA and the student body, but also understanding the reality of, a lot of those original policies and procedures that went in at the beginning or were partially implemented by people who are no longer part of the e-board, are not part of the reality of what we need to do today. And so I hope I can sort of bring that new energy and that new blood to the e-board and help respond to the things that you guys have told me about what needs to change in order for us to be more responsive, what students are hearing and saying, but also, take to heart those recommendations and opinions and adjust our policies accordingly to meet the demands of the student body.
Just to wrap this all up, like you said, we take direction directly from what we hear. Policies that are put in place are from what we hear. If those policies are outdated, bring us updates. And we will try our best to implement them practically. Not everything requested, not all the policies that are the changes people want to see are going to be practical to implement, just with the actual logistical limitations that we do have. But we are, again, we're doing our best. And again, we ask that communication come directly. If there are changes or if there's something that anyone's not happy with, let us know.
I'd also say, as a rep, if you're talking to your fellow students, maybe remind them too that the e-board are also students and they have classes and they have lives, and there might not be a lot of respect that's coming to you from them. So maybe kind of the fact that they are students and it's difficult and they're trying their best. And it hasn't, like, the SBA has always been cracked on by the student body, has always. Since 1L year, when I was watching the videos on live, I watched terrible public comments, and I mean, they handled it with grace, and I know you guys are trying to do that too, so just everyone just needs to.
The other time to the don't have anything to report. Nothing. So with that, hold on. Check the agenda. I was not expecting. I should have been. Okay, so there's no new business. Oh, sorry, totally. Raquel, do you have anything, Representative Dillon? No. Representative De Los Santos. Okay, I'll take that as a yield of time. Now we move on to new business. There is none. Old business was matter of the Space Law Society appeal.
You like a motion now? Motion to move to voting procedures for the space and law. Okay.
We have a second.
Yes, second.
We had a second.
So just a point of clarification, what you are voting on is whether affirm or whether to affirm the board's decision to affirm President Hall's decision not to grant leave to comply.
I can state the motion.
Huh?
I can state the motion. It's technically chair. Okay. Or if you want to call for him.
You want me to?
No, I have to speak the motion. For clarification.
President Hall, yes, go ahead.
So the motion on the floor is to vote on the Space Law Society's appeal to reverse the decision by the executive board to affirm my decision to not grant leave. Basically, what you're voting on is whether or not they should be granted an exception for not complying with the constitutional requirement of chapter 9.2B.
So yes means we accept that they're reinstated, no means we don't want them to be reinstated.
You're not voting on their reinstatement right now. Your vote right now does not give them back status. It would just basically create the same procedure that they would have to take if you deny it. But basically whether or not they lost status to begin with. That's what we're debating over here, whether or not there should have been an exception and we should have had to work with them. So a vote for yes means yes, there should have been an exception, you're overturned. A vote for no means no, you're affirmed.
Oh, sorry, I thought you. I was just curious, like, if we vote now, are we gonna have a problem later saying that the, appeals process was cut short for whatever reason?
Motion to move the floor to debate, to the floor for debate.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes. Motion. So essentially, repeat the question.
I was just wondering, are we gonna have a problem later by the representative coming and saying that we cut the appeals process short by voting early?
So the next step in the appeals process, if the appellant is unhappy with any decision that comes out, would be to file a complaint with the judiciary. So it would be removed from you altogether. So as of now, because there's nothing on the books prohibiting the person from coming, the person could come and raise anything at public comment. What I will not allow is disrespect or beratement of any of you for your decision is your decision, yes or no. But so that's something to disaddress, but to raise any concern, absolutely, public comment is going to be available to that person to come and raise their concerns should they choose to. But right now, you are a general assembly representative. Your decision should be solely off of what was presented to you, the materials that were submitted to you last week that you have a chance to review, based off of the conversations that happened last week. It shouldn't be based off of any particular repercussions anticipating from any party involved in the matter. There are steps that the person could take if they are unhappy with their decision, procedural steps to take as well.
So are we voting on whether they should have received a leave or not?
Yes.
So once we vote on that, then they will or will not get the leave to comply?
Yes,
Okay,
and so
okay.
essentially with that, they get an exception and they have time to work out their executive board without having lost status.
Also question, do we have a majority in present, like presently, that would pass a vote, that would still be the entire enough?
There's a quorum.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to make sure, so that.
Since we only have one absence.
But we have one rep abstaining from who didn't acknowledge his vote.
It was a misunderstanding.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think that was first. Point of clarification for future, anytime in roll call when you're addressed, make sure you indicate you're voting. If you don't indicate you're voting, your vote's not counted.
Given what occurred last week, and given the steps that we've taken to continue to address this issue, I don't find it to be appropriate to address it now, to vote on it right now, because when we tabled it last week, it was under the guise that we would continue discussion, and because we expected that we'd continue discussion tomorrow at a special meeting, I don't think it'd be appropriate for us to cut the time short to talk about it now, especially in the absence of one of the parties. That doesn't seem equitable to me in any regard. Obviously, the behavior last week displayed by some individuals is absolutely abhorrent. Granted, I don't fully believe in an absolute right and an absolute wrong, and I don't think the actions of one individual, regardless of their position on an organization in question, should jeopardize the organization itself and anyone who has potential interest in it. I'm not saying which way I'm going to vote now. This does seem pretty obvious given by what I'm saying, but I do think that the discussion should be held. And I do think it should be held at a time and a place in which all parties are available, regardless of how inconvenient that may be to us. That being said, I think we're not necessarily held to a higher standard, but I certainly hold myself and unfortunately the rest of you to a higher standard. And regardless of what may be said to us or about us, that we will act with good decorum and that we will wait, be patient, and deal with whatever it is so that we can make the right decision. And so that'll be harder for it to be questioned in light of transparency. That's all I have to say with that.
I understand your concern, partially why I'm gonna abstain from the vote period on whether or not we're gonna, because currently what we're debating on is the motion to vote on this matter. I will provide more context or clarity for all of you is that I did reach out to the student and presented several options for options that would allow everyone to be fair and be heard equitably and still take into account the procedural concerns that we had. I heard silence. The person was given a time deadline on when to reply because I had to get that information to you all as to what we would be doing, whether we would be hearing it here with that participant on Zoom tonight, whether or not we would be having a special meeting tomorrow or just at an hour removed, or if we're reading those statements with also proposed different times throughout this week that the participant could, that the appellee could schedule or seek that the hearing be moved to. I've heard silence. So currently, right now, the motion is just tabled until I hear back from that appellee. Anyone in the GA has the right to motion to vote if they would like to hear it. I know that there were some people last week who were tabled it and didn't vote at that meeting. Anyone has the right to motion if they want to be done with the matter. The appellant has the opportunity to respond to me. I would have communicated that information directly. The whole executive board was CC. Everyone knows the information. Those options were presented, but we just heard no communication back from that student at all. And so that's just where the board position is on it. We're just waiting to hear back from that student. However, if a rep motions to vote on it tonight, it's on the floor for a vote tonight. Yeah, please, yeah.
I move to table until you hear back from.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules. We're currently, I already have a motion on the floor to vote. On the motion, that's what's now seconded, so we have to vote on that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You did motion to suspend the rules completely.
And we did technically take the vote off the table when we brought the matter to the board.
It's my own. We're debating whether or not to vote right now, though.
Yes, so motion to
Table the vote.
motion to suspend the rules and rescind any motions that have.
Seconded.
So
Move to table until you hear back from Archie.
I think McKendra wanted to make a comment.
Withdraw.
Perfect. Now withdraw your motions.
I would just like to say, I don't speak on behalf of the appellant, however, I did speak personally with the appellant. They had reached out to me to see if any updates had been made since, because they, okay, so they originally reached out to me after the last GA meeting, asking that aspects be changed about how it is brought to the floor. And so I advised them that they should draft an email in order to give their opinions on what they thought would be a more fair platform for them and for us in order to continue to speak to each other respectfully and determine that is correct. That email was sent. I was CC'd on that email. I received that email. We then, after that, received the update from President Hall in the group meeting. And that was given to us about the special meeting that was to occur. After that, I wiped my hands of it and was like, okay, that's on that. I was then contacted again. I forget the actual day, but after that, I believe maybe Sunday night it was. And the appellant had reached out to me asking whether or not there were any updates that had occurred. Obviously, I had assumed that something had been sent to them, and there was miscommunication on some form where it was not revealed to them that the special meeting was to occur. They then revealed to me that that wouldn't work for them. And so I gave that information to the board and let them do with that as they would. I think that through my communications with this person, that they want what's best for their society, of course, and that they want to go through, which is the only reason that I would fight for, maybe for the vote to happen tonight, so that it can either go in their favor and allow them to continue through that status, or for it to continue through the appeals process, because I think that they are going to continue through that appeals process regardless of the outcome. And so I think that part of what they are upset about is that it's spanning so long. I think that a motion vote might be actually beneficial for them in a way that would help to expedite, not to, in like other terms, it's to expedite the process in order for them to receive the end result of the Space Law Society becoming an organization. Because at the end of this is what we want. We want the Space Law Society to be an organization that is recognized by the SBA, and we want that to occur regardless of how that happens. And so that would be the only reason, the only argument that I would say
I just want to speak to a couple of points that you were making. Yeah, that original email that night that he sent with the suggestions on how things should be structured going forward, we did receive. I in fact called the special executive board meeting within that 24 hours where we all met and discussed on what had happened, which steps going forward. I came up with some options going forward, and that's when the special hearing was scheduled. And I asked Chief Justice to reach out to the student with that information. By Sunday night, the student was informed about the special hearing that would be happening 72 hours later. And then by the next day, that's when we got the response that it wouldn't work for them. And I sent that by that afternoon, by I think 4 p.m. yesterday, I let the student know if that's not going to work for you, here are some options. Let us know going forward what you want or what works best, because what you want as displayed by and at the last GA meeting and the GA meeting previous for that hasn't been working. So that was the logic in moving into special GA meeting. Also, as I indicated to the student, that very email, which would have been submitted before you had this been called for a hearing, was that part of the motivation was that it was the student's request that the meeting be moved to Zoom, and that it happened quickly. And that was the motivation, because they saw society, as you said, is there a solution for this? That was why the special hearing was going to happen this week, as opposed to next week or the week after that, just to get this matter rolling, because it's now week 7, and this is the 3rd GA meeting that is coming before. And I will say, had not gone as disruptive as it was, there would have been a vote. And while I understand your points, even at the last meeting, if you go back and you watch your recording, what Dennis says is, why not just call for a vote now? So I understand like that part or that motivation of him not being here, but this has been drawn, like I said, this is the 3rd GA meeting. So if people would like to vote, I'm not going to not allow that motion to go forward. Okay.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. First, I would like to say, I think the Spaceball Society idea is like a tremendous idea. I personally don't know anything about Spaceball, so I think it's very vital to the student body to have that presence on campus. My concern is, I don't stand on either as we should vote today or not. I did second Stephanie's representative motion. I just feel like regardless of what decision we make, somebody's gonna be unhappy. So my main concern is how long the issue is going to be drawn out, because even today it has taken, we're not even supposed to be discussing it at this point in time, but it's already taken a considerable amount of our time. And I do definitely agree that we have a responsibility to be transparent, and it doesn't matter how much of our time like it takes, but again, like we're still students and our time should still be taken into consideration. So I guess my point is somebody's going to like the decision we made, and just like how long are we going to be discussing the issue for? So I guess I just had a comment, no real like addition to anything, just how I view the situation.
Speaking of that comment, we're at that hour. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Those will be the comments, and then we'll vote or do whatever we're going to do on this issue. Ariana.
Just to add to what I spoke to Dennis immediately following the last GA meeting. And he did express that he was dissatisfied that we did not vote, that he wanted a vote regardless of whether it was in favor or like in favor of him or against him. I didn't have a grammatically correct, I apologize. But that he was more unhappy that there was not a vote and that this was getting dragged out more. So I understand the notion of wanting him to be here. It does feel a little bit weird to me to not have him here, but I also do know that he wanted a vote last week and just wants to move on with this issue and just get a decision either way. So he can either appeal or take the next step and not getting status, but take the next steps.
So I just wanted to clarify, I think that the reason why I motioned for the vote is because whether or not, like, if we vote tonight, whether it's with or against this certain appellant's case. Did I use that? Anyways, yeah, so regardless of whether or not it goes in his favor, he would still have opportunity to appeal his case again, but for a different body. So this would just save the GA's time so that we don't spend more time on the case, so that we don't keep talking about this without any potential end to the discussion. So we just be voting to say either yes or no, and then it's not our problem anymore. It's the problem of the higher authority more or less, because I feel like anyways, we might not be the right people to deal with this because it's such a special and delicate matter. So that's why I think we should just vote on it to be done with.
I just wanted to suggest that direction of the motion is taken. Suggested I would attach condition almost to his reply has to be within a specified amount of time, or that maybe possibly suggestion we would call a special hearing just for that.
That's what the special hearing is gonna be, that hearing and that vote, we can motion straight to vote.
If you don't hear from him, regardless of whether he's present.
Question. So if we vote to comply, to take leave to comply with the request, the student will essentially have the time, the order will never be revoked its status, and then the student will be able to present a GA and the e-board and the Constitution and be able to come back. Is that not what happens when he's complied, when he's given leave to comply?
So had I granted the leave to comply, what would have happened was they at a later point would have just been their executive board to us.
Oh,
That's it. Without the denial of the leave to with the denial of that leave, the steps he would have to take would be the president, the evening liaison, and the treasurer would have to submit a bill before the GA, which just says we want to regain status, and come to the meeting and see you all. If you deny, they don't have to come back. You don't have to see them, you don't have to see those officers. You don't have to see the bill. They don't, it wouldn't have to do any of that. It would just be at some point him saying, this is our executive board, but we don't verify that at all. We would just have to take the names. Thank you for the clarification. So, is there any current motions on the floor?
Second.
Vote on the motion to vote.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
Is that whatever?
no, it's been seconded, so
Unless it needs a majority.
oh. All those in favor of voting on, please raise your hand. Please lower them. All those opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion to vote passes with a vote of 15 to 0 to 2.
So now the motion on the floor is the motion I to vote to overturn the affirmation of the denial for leave to comply. A vote for yes would be saying our decision is overturned. Spaceball Society never lost status. They are an organization, they just have to submit their executive board. A vote for no is saying no, Spaceball Society did lose status. They just have to have their big three come and present themselves with a bill before the GA. With that.
All of those in favor of affirming the board's decision. So basically, all those in favor of denying leave to comply. Please raise your hand. Repeat, please. So yes,
So if we agree with the board's decision that
Yeah.
they are,
no, so we're only, it's point of clarification, it's not status or anything. All we're doing is voting on whether or not they get the leave to comply.
Okay. In the most basic of terms, you're voting whether or not our decision was right to want them to come to the GA or not.
so yes, your decision was right, no, your decision was wrong. Can we just keep it like that? 'Cause it's easier?
Sure, yeah. Sure. That's easier for, and it's now amended to whether or not the executive board made the correct decision.
All those in agreement with the executive board's decision, please raise your hand. If you, point of clarification, if you agree that the executive board and President Hall correctly denied the leave to comply, you will vote, you will raise your hand, yes, in the affirmative. If you do not agree and you think they should have been granted leave to comply, raise your hand, no, in the negative. Leave to comply. Leave to comply simply means that if they were granted leave to comply, all they would have had to have done is submit their executive board at a later date. Denying leave to comply means that they submit their executive board and that the president, the treasurer, and the evening liaison of the organization come to one of our General Assembly meetings and propose a bill to have them reinstated. Just gonna use yes and no. All those voting yes, please raise your hand. Lower them. All those voting no. Please lower them. Any abstentions? The vote passes with a vote of 8-5-3.
So with that, the matter has now been resolved before the General Assembly. If Spaceball Society wishes to regain status, the president, the evening liaison, and the treasurer will have to come before the General Assembly. That bill would have to be submitted 48 hours before, and it would be added to the agenda under old business. If the student is unhappy with the decision, they can file the complaint with the judiciary. That would be the next. Their next steps would be to file the complaint with the judiciary. So this matter, you won't have to hear from it again unless Spaceball Society comes back up to regain status. Question. With that, we close the floor for old business and open the floor for public comment. Public comment.
I have one thing from when I was a rep. I know that the budget has already been decided on and everything, but just for the record, I have to say it because it was brought to me in my representative capacity, and it wasn't able to be brought to the floor last week. The only comment was that there were concerns about the Social Affairs Committee chair also being the president of the comedy club, and the comedy club requested $1,000 for a joint open mic event with Social Affairs, and Social Affairs requested $8,500 for that event, so $8,500. So they were concerned that the SBA was providing most of the funds for that, and because Social Affairs is only contributing to one organization events and nobody else's, And they believe that it's improper due to the biased relationship between SBA social care and Comedy Club. Because sometimes comedy can get, it can negatively impact people in different types of groups, and they don't think that the relationship is necessarily appropriate to have the co-chair be also the committee head or the president. So that's all. I just had to raise it because I was around. So for the record.
Quick point of clarification, I will say that there was, when I was appointing co-chairs and chairs of committees, I didn't do a conflict check for orgs because people are in multiple orgs and that wasn't the conflict. If the student's conflict is that there is an event, a co-sponsored event, that's sure, but like the actual appointment of the person, that wasn't a conflict check to, like that was done, and that's not something that I plan to implement for that for committee chairs. I just was like no one in the GI.
Yeah, I think it was just that specific.
Yeah, so that would as Treasurer Taylor brought up for a vote, the budget.
Right.
It was affirmed by the budget committee. I have no
Right.
further comment.
No, yeah, I just to say that nobody can say that we didn't raise it.
I appreciate it.
Because it wasn't brought for debate last
Yeah.
time. Any other public comments?
Don't know if I'm doing this, I've never been to one of these before. But on behalf of Mental Health and Wellness Committee, I did have a impromptu meeting with the dean, and one of the longer stretch goals for my committee for me is to have a case manager social worker implemented to help students with figuring out their insurance, with getting mental health benefits and finding therapists. I discussed this with the dean, and this was something that she was interested in. I did not know if the SBA would like to provide support to this initiative. I do not have anything in writing because this is a long stretch goal. And again, impromptu meeting that I did not expect, but when an opportunity arises, you have to take it. And I just want to know what the thoughts were from the General Assembly as well as the SBA Executive Board about that. Mind you, regardless of your thoughts, I'm still going to go for it, but I would love to know anyway. Please don't be mean to me.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I hope that people will be able to join. I assume people will join. Yes.
Sure can. Our welcome meeting's tomorrow.
Oh,
At 5 p.m. in the new courtroom.
If there's food.
5.
Wednesday.
Sorry. Anyways, I think that's a great idea, and I'm glad that you had this impromptu. I would, just as a question generally, people can just join committees that are not in the SBA, correct?
Absolutely, join the committee. Like there's nothing out, like y'all are assigned to committees, because that's already correct capacity. But anything like students are able to walk up to a committee chair and say, I want to join a committee. Join on campus if you want. Like get involved. Yes.
Especially if they probably like social chairs
Yes.
and stuff like social events.
They're looking for help. Committee chairs are looking for help. They have a lot of events. They have a lot of projects. They have a lot of great things they want to do. I mean, you've heard from Linda here, like on all the stuff that she has planned or going with this committee. They need hands. They need bodies. So if anyone's interested, absolutely send them that way.
I do have a brochure I made. So if you have
They
further.
are in the SBA office. So if you're in there in your office hours, take a look at it, send it to your constituents, pass it around, spread that info.
I love you all, but I'm going to motion
What? I mean, don't say they disagree.
I'll back you on that. If you support.
She weirdly did like sneaks and like. Okay. I just have to bring reception.
Oh, okay.
Step out for another one.
What is she speaking?
I still have the
Jackie or
He's it wasn't class. It's.
I figured this was.
For the meeting.
Yeah,
for sure. So I guess whatever you want to draw, I can do it.
Oh, sure.
It's okay.
So,
Yeah.